Hello, Malaysia. Welcome to Thursday's edition of The Brief, live from Wisma. I'm Gerard Ratnam. Today I speak to Malcolm Fernandez and Faleigh Mansor from the Fathers' Rights Association of Malaysia. Yes, I said Fathers' Rights Association of Malaysia. What are we going to be talking about? Well, we'll be delving into fathers' rights. That's going to be happening very, very soon. And as always, our usual suspect, Nordin Abdullah, joins me with the daily crisis brief to fill us in on a new acronym, OSHMP. It's a master plan. We'll find out more about that when Nordin joins us. But we begin the brief with this. Now, according to Health Minister KJ, faced with burnout and stress during the COVID-19 pandemic, many frontliners turned to psychosocial helplines for help, including the ones set up in collaboration with Mercy Malaysia. Now, out of the 220,000 calls made, about 17,000, or that's roughly 7.9%, were made by frontliners between March 25th till September 19th this year. Most of them apparently experienced acute stress and were given psychological first aid or PFA and counseling. I hope to talk about that at some point. PFA, what does that all mean? Now, let's take a look at what's happening medically in Malaysia. MPs from both sides of the political divide, and this probably happened earlier this morning, will form a bipartisan parliamentary caucus over regulating the use of ketum and medical cannabis in Malaysia. Some say this is a welcome move. Now, the 9-member Medical Cannabis Caucus, or MCC, chaired by Syed Saddiq, will present a draft proposal to the government, and this is to ensure patients who rely on ketum and cannabis would be cared for under the public healthcare system. Now, the MCC believes that with the bipartisan approach, good policies and strategies will be implemented for the benefit of you and I, and of course, the country at large. Just think about what we can do if we use this to manage pain. For those of us with chronic pain, with fatigue symptoms, there's a lot of ways in which ketum and cannabis can be used, but we hope to get a subject matter expert to delve more into that at some point. Now, according to the Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri, this new thing has been made possible. Malaysia is now ready to be an investment hub for both regional and international investors again. So how is it made possible? The creative and innovative methods implemented by the government will help to encourage investments, and this happens with the continuous cooperation from every member, listen to this, of Keluarga Malaysia, that's you and I. Now, the PM also believes that Malaysia provides the most conducive environment for investment, being the gateway to the ASEAN market. Meanwhile, he also went on to say that an essential component of the country's future lies in the Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint, or My Digital, and the National Fourth Industrial Revolution, of 4IR. Having said that, here's another piece of very important information. The Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Economy, Datuk Sri Mustafa Mohamad, had this to say: the shortage of skilled talents and lack of local research and development in the electrical and electronics, or E&E industry, needs to be addressed in order to move Malaysia up the value chain. So that's a little something we have to look into. And this is despite its significant contribution towards the economy. Now, the industry faces several challenges in maintaining growth and competitiveness globally following the pandemic. So 2 years has brought about a bit of a slump, and of course, we need to work on that. Now, here are some key points to remember. E&E accounts for about 40% of Malaysia's exports, and under the 12th Malaysia Plan, the E&E industry is projected to contribute about 120 billion ringgit to the GDP and 495 billion ringgit to the country's exports. Then this is by 2025. Now, yesterday something very interesting happened. The PM launched the Occupational Safety and Health Master Plan. This is a 5-year plan, and the aim, he says, is to create safe and healthy workplaces and to raise the Malaysia's well-being index. Now, Nordin Abdullah joins us at this time to help me unpack this timely initiative in snackable bites, like he usually does. Nordin, thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure to be with you, Gerard, and as always, you are the master, and we're happy to be part of your show.
Blushing again. And so we're talking about this new initiative. What do we need to understand about this? It's a master plan. So I guess it is important at this point for all of us to have a basic understanding of what's happening here.
Well, we always say the best way to manage a crisis is not to have a crisis. And this master plan, the Occupational Safety and Health Master Plan, is looking at eliminating crisis from the workplace. We see the data, and the data we see that last year, of course, the numbers were down by 45%, down to just 381 workplace deaths in the country, but also construction sites were by and large not highly operational. But this master plan is starting to look at the key areas that are going to be impacted by those accidents at the workplace, deaths at the workplace. And the fact that it's a 5-year plan, it's looking at solving this problem in a 5-year period that allows businesses to change their operational behaviors and put in place the SOPs at the workplace and follow the law, as it were, to ensure that there's a safe environment. So why is the Prime Minister doing this now? It's two things. And you talked about investment earlier. Investors want to know that when they invest here, they're investing in a safe environment for their own staff who will be working here, but also they're going to be audited in global supply chains. And if your operations in any one country spikes in terms of too many injuries or too many deaths, then that will go into a global reporting of
I want to jump in here. I'm
investors.
sorry, but I need to jump in here. Just a quick summary for the viewer. It's a 5-year plan that has 7 key strategies: empowerment of occupational safety and health in the public sector, strengthening self-regulation practices, encouraging OSH education and research, and empowering occupational health, among others. One of its main objectives is to reduce the country's workplace accident rate. So when you talk about accident rate, shouldn't we also be looking at people being safe in the office as to having proper mental health? When they go to work, basically, I think the way of telling that you're doing okay in life is when you wake up in the morning and you tell yourself, I'm happy to go to work. So that's one very good indicator, they say, or basic indicator. How do you tie this into what we're talking about here?
Actually, one of the key areas of crisis management, especially post-COVID-19, is managing levels of sleep. And levels of sleep impact, of course, mental health. So if there's employees who don't get enough sleep, if there are employees who are not in a strong position in terms of their mental health, then that is definitely going to impact their performance. Now, maybe if you're working on a keyboard, that's not an issue. But if you're working on heavy machinery or on a construction site, or using traffic control or airport traffic control, these are big safety concerns that impact not just yourself and in the working environment, but potentially creating a crisis for others in your day-to-day activities. So this is really something, and we've seen the statistics. We're looking at about contributing or removing losses up to 4% of the GDP. So if we improve that even by 50%, Malaysia's GDP numbers in the next 5 years will increase just by improving levels of safety in the workplace.
Well, Nordin, thank you very much for that. Always good to hear from you, my friend. It's going to be a long weekend, I understand, and I hope you have some great plans for the upcoming weekend ahead. I can already hear the buzz of people trying to leave the city. So I hope you have a good weekend, my friend, and we'll check in with you hopefully next week.
Have a good one as well.
Thank you very much. That was Nordin Abdullah joining us here on The Brief to give us the 411 with this new master plan with regards to safety and health in the country. Now, moving on with a few more pieces of news before we bring in a guest or our featured guest for today. Water supply throughout Kuala Lumpur and Selangor is expected to return in stages starting 5 p.m. today, and this is following repair and upgrading works at one of the water distribution centers. Now, according to Selangor, upgrades and maintenance works for critical assets on its Sungai Selangor Phase 1 water treatment plant, or SSP1 WTP, were completed at 5 a.m. Water is now being pumped back into the system. So we'll just wait for word from them, and stay with us right here on Bernama TV, also bernama.com, if you want to receive more information or want to keep updated as to what's happening with the water situation everyone's talking about on social media at this point. When I come back, we'll be speaking to two very important people who started an initiative to talk about men's rights right here on The Brief. Thank you for staying with us right here on The Brief. I'm Jared Ratnam, and of course, based on an article that we picked up on a few days ago, this was published in the Malay Mail exactly last week. Newly formed Fathers' Rights Advocacy Group wants the current law reform, or Divorce and Marriage Act 1976, to be well reformed and to be more in keeping with the times. Now, my question is, why the urgency in coming up with this association? At this point, I'm joined by the founders of this initiative, Malcolm Fernandez and Sheikh Faleigh. I will bring them in, and we'll find out what's happening with regards to this initiative and also fathers' rights. So if we can bring in Sheikh right now, and also Malcolm, thank you very much for joining us on the show. If I know that we have one guest missing, so someone's, we thought you popped out, Sheikh. We thought you ran away. Thank you for staying with us, Sheikh. Yeah.
Hi, Gerard.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Hey, we're going to get caught up in who's going to talk first, but I'm going to shoot with the question. Why do we need to talk about men's rights or fathers' rights at this point? What's the urgency of it? So we'll start with Malcolm. Let's go for this.
Sure. Well, the whole concept of fathers' rights and fathers seeking to advocate the need to be in the family and with the child is not a new concept. In fact, it's been a concept which has been in existence since 1974. You've had Families Need Fathers, which advocates for fathers being in the continued presence of children. You've had American Coalition of Fathers and Children in the US from 1996. Now, this is not a concept which is just rather new. It is something which has been there. It has always been, for whatever reasons, been kept on a very low profile. Why the urgency in coming up with this association? Simple. We started off as a WhatsApp group seeking to just simply counsel fathers and so on and so forth. But when we started getting fathers all over Malaysia, and we saw that these are fathers, and the numbers are growing, these are fathers that are really distraught. They want to be in the child's life, and they cannot, and they can't. So that is why we actually felt, Sheikh and I actually felt, we got to take this a notch up. We've got to start doing something, not for just fathers, but for the sake of children. And that is how, on the 3rd of May this year, we were duly registered, and FRAM was born.
Right. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Let's get to Sheikh for a while, and let's walk through the current situation very quickly. Let's talk about child custody in Malaysia. How dire is the situation for fathers at this point? Sheikh?
Can I just take this, Gerard? That is actually an amazing question. Now, we start off by just simply this. On the 15th of September, our Prime Minister came up with this astounding, shocking statistics. 78 divorce cases were filed from March last year till August this year. 78,000, of which 66,440 were divorce applications filed by Muslims. 10,346 were divorce petitions filed by non-Muslims. Now, we go back to just a couple of days ago when the Deputy Prime Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Mas Arianti, said this, and this is really statistics which shows we have reached a crisis level. No matter what we try to say, it is a crisis level. Why? Because there are 121 divorce cases filed in Sharia courts nationwide across Malaysia. Every hour, as soon as this show is over, an hour from now, 5 applications had been filed by Muslim couples across Malaysia. 18 divorce petitions are filed across Malaysia by non-Muslims. Now, let's look at the statistics. The Department of Statistics Malaysia estimates that there are 32.7 million Malaysians here, of which, as of 2021, there are approximately 7.5 million children up to the age of 14. Let's do the maths. If you have 78,000 divorce cases from March last year to August this year, let's take a very generous amount of 50,000 couples, which has on average of 2 children. That is 100,000 children who are now torn away from the father, and they have the father taken out from their lives.
Right.
And the reason why this happened is because of this act, an act which was enacted in 1976. It is an act which has torn away the fabric of family. It has not looked at, no matter how we want to look at it, it is not really taken care of the children.
So let's just say that the act is not in keeping with the times. Now, I'd like to bring Sheikh in. Sheikh, what are your thoughts? Let's just go to what Malcolm said. How would you echo that?
Like what Malcolm said, the law is not the matter of the ex-wife or the judge fault that this are happening. The law is as such stated that the mother will have the custody of the child. And there is also no law stated the time of the visitation of the father, but the practice that has been given, the orders that have been given by judges is just simply practice where these alternate weekends, 4 hours, 2 hours in the shopping mall has been a habitual process. And it's not something that is good. Is family law supposed to bond, to encourage bonding of any family members? Because I always tell everybody that when you're a parent, you can't separate the whole family bonding. So the judgment that is been practicing in either family court and also Sharia court is very lopsided, and fathers and also children who are very close to their fathers are going through a very silent depression.
Right. But I also guess that with this argument, there's also a lot of other facets that need to be taken into consideration. Like a mother or a father, are they fit to be having the custody of their kids? I guess that would be the question that comes about with most cases too, and that's sort of a talk or a conversation we want to have at another time. But with this campaign, how much of awareness is it gaining? Is it getting traction? Are policymakers jumping on the same bandwagon as you guys? Malcolm?
Well, the traction that we've got from the public is astounding, and we would say that it's a victory because most of our supporters, strangely, are from women. Sheikh and I receive numerous calls and emails from mothers, from women, saying, you know what, well done. It's high time we had such an association. I hope you guys do really well and all of that. So the advocacy that we are doing, it's gaining traction because we, on an average, get about 10 emails a day, messages through Messenger, WhatsApp, and it just shows that there are a lot of fathers out there who are lost, who do not know what to do, who needs counseling, and the system is really doing that to them. And what is the fault of these fathers? Simply this: they are men, they are fathers. Simply that. The traction has been amazing. We've been getting calls from not just in the Klang Valley, but all across Malaysia. And we've even had a father calling us from Australia. That's how far-reaching this whole FRAM had been, and we are excited about it.
Right. Guys, we're very quickly running out of time. We've got about a minute left. Sheikh, your message to Malaysia, and then we'll move to Malcolm before we close. But I'll of course, put this out there right now. One day we will definitely do a nation for all the fathers of Malaysia, just to send this message out. Yeah. For now, your message to Malaysia before we move on with the news.
Yes, for the fathers out there, do call us. You can go to our website, fram.org.my. We are here to be a good listener. We are here to be a bro. And just give us a call. Then let's chat.
Right. And Malcolm, yeah.
To all the fathers out there, you are doing the greatest injustice to your child or your children if you give up. Never give up. Fight on. Your kid is silently asking you to fight for them. And if you give up that fight, you are doing them the greatest disservice. It's an act of betrayal. I will just tell you this. We are going to be next to you. We're going to be beside you. We're going to walk with you in this whole battle. Do not give up on your child.
Do not give up. Well, we'll take you on that, guys. We're going to take you on that and bring you on to another show to talk about this extensively. Thank you very much, Malcolm Fernandez and Sheikh Faleigh together.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Yeah, and a lovely initiative for fathers to understand their rights. Thank you very much once again, Malcolm and Sheikh. Now, very quickly, let's move into the news in brief. The focus is simply this: 3 R's. This is what Tengku Zafrul says on Budget 2022: speeding recovery, strengthening economic resilience, and catalyzing reform in the spirit of transparency. Now, moving along, Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin says to start dispensing COVID-19 booster doses for senior citizens and frontliners. Now, he goes on to say that the Ministry of Health will start administering the COVID-19 vaccine booster doses to senior citizens and frontliners who have been fully vaccinated for 6 months. The vaccine will be free and administered on a voluntary basis. Now, moving along, the National Unity Minister, Dato' Halima Muhammad Sadi, this is what she's saying, the Ministry of Unity, KPN, will launch the National Unity Action Plan at the end of this year to foster community unity in line with the Keluarga Malaysia or Malaysia Family concept. It's an overall blueprint plan which includes the Perpaduan Kindergarten Early Childhood Education Plan, the Rukun Tetangga Community Leadership Empowerment Plan, and the Keluarga Malaysia Unity Plan. And now let's very quickly move on to international news stories. The G20 chiefs back a tax deal and pledge to sustain recovery. Now, the finance leaders from the G20 major economies have endorsed a global deal to revamp corporate taxation, and this happened yesterday. They pledged to sustain fiscal support for their economies while keeping a close eye on inflation. This comes days after 136 countries agreed to adopt a 15% minimum corporate tax and to partially reallocate taxes for large, profitable multinational companies to countries selling products and services. Now, Britain has reassured people to shop normally for Christmas, saying there would be no shortage of gifts this year. This comes after shipping containers carrying toys and electrical goods were diverted from the country's biggest port because it was apparently full. Now, Britain's exit from the European Union also means that it's short of about 100,000 truckers to send these toys and whatever's Christmassy to their destinations. And now we move on to F1. Everyone seems to be jumping on this next bandwagon. The Williams Formula One team have pledged to be climate positive by 2030 and to be pace setters for sustainability in global motorsports. Now, climate positive means going beyond achieving net zero carbon emissions by removing additional carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Formula One aims to achieve a net zero carbon footprint by 2030, introducing 100% sustainable fuels. Mercedes claims that they have already achieved a net zero carbon footprint. Now, WHO announced the creation of a newly formed advisory group on dangerous pathogens yesterday, stating that this may be the last chance to determine the origins of SARS-CoV-2 virus. They also urged China to cooperate by supplying details of early COVID-19 cases. So whatever came earlier on, everyone wants to know what happened to be able to shed some light as to the origins of this problem or COVID-19. Now, what's trending on Twitter? Before we end, let's see who's talking about what on Twitter. Thomas Cup 2020, there's a lot of hype surrounding the national badminton team tournament as Malaysia gets ready to face Japan later today at 2:30 p.m. That's going to be happening very, very soon. Aside from that, we have been spending a lot of time on what we now know as the Idiot Box. Squid Game. If you're a Squid Game fan, so am I. The popular Netflix series Squid Game is trending again as more people hop onto the bandwagon. If you haven't watched it, it's a series that's recently become the most popular show on Netflix. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it. People are also raving about Zendaya on Twitter. The popular actress stars in the new movie Dune, among other A-list actors. Dune opens in cinemas nationwide in Malaysia today. Now, in closing, experts shortly are going to be discussing mental health at Unicef. My colleague Jessy Chahal is there right now. It'll be happening in Bernama. If you want more information about what's happening with regards to children's mental health or the mental health dialogue session, which is happening shortly right here at Bernama, do check it out on bernama.com. Jessy Chahal will be there to give you a lot of information on that. She'll be also moderating sessions as to what's happening in Malaysia with regards to children's mental health. With that, this brings the brief to a wrap for a Thursday afternoon. I'm Jared Brunham signing out. Thank you very much for staying with us right here on Bernama TV's